Hi, John. Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sarah.
How are you?
Good, thank you. A bit on the cool side today.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all recovering from COVID here still. So
Oh, goodness.
please excuse me if I have a little bit of a cough and splutter every now and then.
Hey there.
Good morning.
Hey, is it possible to get a recording of this?
We're recording right now.
Okay, I've got a class in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we're recording it. We'll just edit it out a wee bit. And if you have any questions, just please flick them through to me. And if you have to leave, I can ask the panelists.
Yeah. No, I think I'll probably watch it later and then come back with a lot of questions. Actually, I think.
Excellent. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. I'll probably email you outside and maybe just get a copy if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Leave.
Hi, Ben.
Hello.
I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
We're just waiting on our two panelists and a few others who might join. We're going to record the session. So,
Excellent.
yeah. So if you do have to duck out, please send me any questions and I can make sure that I ask the panelists. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I might share the screen now just in case you multiple participants. So I've just set that now just in case you need to or would like to share anything. We're also recording it. There's a lot of interest, which is really great, from lots of teachers around the country. Most can't join live, but we're recording it and we'll edit it out a wee bit at the end and then send it round to everybody. I think we're just waiting on John
Me?
John Creighton. We're just waiting on, I think. Yep.
Good morning. Sarah, John just sent an email asking for the link.
Oh, okay.
Could just send that to him.
All right, doing that now.
Yeah, somebody wants to go on, yeah.
Um,
Where is everyone from anyway? Ben, where are you from?
Sorry, I'm off Rangitata College in Auckland.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm from Mahurangi, north.
Nice.
Suzanne, you there? We're hearing a lot of noise from Suzanne in the background.
there is. I'm not sure from which.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Okay, I've sent that link, resent
Yeah.
that link to John, so hopefully he'll jump in any minute.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I'm on the email train either. One of my students ended up sending me this link just by chance. So
Where are you from, Ben? Which school?
Rangitata College.
Oh, yes, you're not. Excellent. Lovely to meet you. Yeah, your students have been in touch and they came along, a couple of them came along to our race day. Yeah, they want to build a competition class.
They sure do. Yep. They're very eager and very keen.
Okay, that's ambitious. Excellent. I think we only had one team in Auckland that was from Mahurangi, who built a competition class this year. So it might be nice to have a bit of competition there.
Excellent. We're ready to bring it.
Fantastic.
I think John's on now. John Creighton.
Here we go. Oh, great. Hey, John. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, look, I think we'll kick off because we are going to record the session and there's lots of teachers who will be joining later and to watch that. So firstly, welcome and thank you to John and Paul for being here today to share your expertise. For everyone, my name is Sarah Fitzgerald. I'm the CEO of EVolocity, and I'm joined today by John Creighton. John is a technology teacher at Burnside High School in Christchurch, and Paul is a technology teacher at Mahurangi College here in Auckland. Both of these teachers have been doing EVolocity for many years and running it in two different ways. We're often asked by our teachers, you know, what is the best way of running EVolocity for our students? And we really have sort of two key ways that we do this. One is as a club or a project or an after-school activity, and the other is to run EVolocity in the classroom as part of the curriculum and seeing our students getting NCEA credits. So what we thought we'd do today is invite two of our experts to join the panel and share their experience with EVolocity, how they've done it, what worked, what not so much, and some hot tips for our teachers around the country. So I am going to hand over now to John Creighton in Christchurch. John has been doing this more as a project, and he's going to share his experience with us.
Excellent, thank you. Kia ora, everyone. So we got off at the very start of this when it was launched, and it was launched in Canterbury. So Les Black was in there at that stage there, and I had quite a close relationship with Les anyway. So it sort of it made it easier to sort of work out how we could get it established and what it would look like. For me, the biggest risk at that early stage was, you know, putting a huge investment in something that might only last for a year or two. And if you do that, you're sort of left with a whole bunch of, legacy equipment that you don't really want to be left with. And that was an issue for a lot of schools. So it's not so much for established schools, but for new ones coming in, you really want to be confident that it's, it's got longevity and it's something that the kids can sort of grow into over time. We started off with seniors. I spoke to our materials teachers and they were a little bit more reluctant. They were going through a rebuild phase and were just leaving behind grass carts. And the way they were doing grass carts at the moment was 6 kids working on a grass cart, which meant that it was 1 person working on a grass cart and 5 kids sort of watching. And they were rebuilding their program to really lift the quality of engineering. And they were a bit skeptical at first because of the cost and of the change in components and everything else. Like, it was a massive switch to do it, and they really were wanting to get away from a bigger project. So long story short, we decided to take it up in digital technologies completely and run it from there. And that had a whole bunch of extra difficulties. So in the first year, we got a couple of old bikes and we managed to hook the frames onto the bikes, and we managed to hook the motors onto the bikes and get the bikes going there. And I had a couple of people in engineering that were really helpful and, got stuff done. But at that early stage, I knew I had to really lean on parents. So the model we use is, it's more an extracurricular club that's based out of digital technologies. And we've got really strong parent support. So I've got parents that were with us for 4 years as their kids have gone through, and then the next set of parents I've got have gone through with 3 kids doing it. And I've now got a new year 9 that's come in, and his dad's like just been over the moon helping us coming in. And like, I rely on them a lot. They've got the more materials based skills to help. And the kids that I've got involved, a lot of the cart building they're doing at home, and then they're coming in and they're working at school on a club to get the electronics. Now, if I could I'm going to try this and we'll see how we go. Just to give you a sort of indication of like the constraints I've got. There's one of the carts that's sitting in our hallway. And then I go into this used to be my office in here, but it's actually turned into a storeroom because nothing fits. And I've got like a bike mounted on a wall, and there's another bike that gets mounted there, and I've got a cart that's like broken in half sitting on the thing, and then there's another bike over the equipment there. And I don't know how well you're going to see that in there, but I've got my competition class cart sitting on the bench, and then there's a blue cart under the table, and then behind that there's another cart, and then under, squeezed between the tables, is another a bike. So at the end of the year, when all of the carts come in after race day, it's really like difficult to store them, and the teachers are quite patient with me. We're going to go to a new block, and hopefully I'll sort those storage issues, but you can't underestimate the storage issues for it. However, the kids come in, they see the carts there, they're really interested in it. And then they can start to see, and this is the benefit for me, is they start to see the links between hard materials and electronics and digital technologies. And so I've got programming kids that are coming in and they want to work with electronics kids to start to build stuff up. I've spent so long, like 6 years, 7 years building these carts, that now I've got enough carts. I don't really need to build any new carts. What we're going to start doing is improving the electronics on them and start looking at the aerodynamics on them and getting the kids involved in those aspects, so we get to a point where the cars start looking better and better and doing more and more stuff. So it's going to be incremental improvements or iterative improvements now, rather than building a new cart. I've gone through trial and error so many times of kids coming in, and one of the big lessons I've learned is like not to let them start a new cart. So they come in really keen, take a cart apart, and then time goes by and there's bits spread all over the show and they're working on something, and then it gets closer to race day and I've got like 3 or 4 carts in pieces and none of them together. So over the last couple of years, I've really learned not to let them take the carts apart. If they want to build a new one, they work with mum and dad, build it at home. We form a team and we work together. The other thing, I mean, I'm jumping all over the show here a little bit, but one of the other lessons that we sort of worked at was, instead of having 4 or 5 separate teams competing against each other at school, we're actually one big Burnside team, and we all come together to work on all the carts. And that way the kids are helping each other with all of the carts, and it's not, you know, trying to find one team that's super good. Kids that build their own carts obviously race their own carts, but with the new year 9s that I've got coming in, the first year there's a cart already sitting there. They get to play around driving it. They start to think about how they can improve it and where, you know, they could refix the wheels, they could put this on, they could do this, and start getting more simple improvements. COVID really ruined our sequence. I had a whole bunch of senior kids, and then I lost a whole bunch of them, and it's just been really disruptive over the last 2 years. This year, I've got my whole team is basically year 9s, and the good thing about year 9s is they come in, they battle away on a cart that's already going, they get enthused, they get other people into it. You know, you get 10 of them that get the bug, and then they just on it all the time. And as they grow through, by the time they get to 11, year 11, year 12, and some of them, even by the time they get to year 10, they take all of the work of getting the clubs together and how to get the motors hooked up and the wiring and show kids and do that. And suddenly, like, I'm not really doing much, and they can do an awful lot in that electronics room in terms of, you know, tidying the wires up and putting the extra clips in and starting to add an Arduino, and one person does it, the others ones add it in, and testing the equipment. They learn all this extra stuff and they enjoy doing it. And so, yeah, we focus more on the add-ons to the carts. Now we've got the carts, because I just don't have the facilities to build them in my environment here, where I'm just in computer rooms. But it works for us. We've been really successful and the kids love it. So in a nutshell, that's me. If anybody's got any questions or they want to know anything about that, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, look, I've just got a query. I know I'm a physics teacher, but I know in digital technologies, there are some standards you could be using with Arduino. I think there's an year 11. Have you thought of doing that? I know you said you've run it as a club, but have you thought of running a class where some of these skills that students need to build these carts could be used to get them credits?
The way our courses are set up at Burnside is they're largely project-driven things. So our 11, 12, and 13 electronics classes, some of them do that. So some of them decide to make their projects really strongly linked in with EVolocity, and we have been successful. So one of the kids went through and built his own controller and took that right through to scholarship, and got a scholarship on how he built his controller and what he did. So yeah, the standards can link really strongly with that stuff there. It works for us because it's not trying to make all of the kids do it, because it's so difficult if you've got kids that aren't really interested in it. But the kids that are doing that work, and they go through. And we've also had the kids in year 9 and 10 take their carts through to science fair, and so they exhibit them at science fair, and they do, when the competitions come up, they showcase what they've learned and how they've built their cars, and enter that as part of the technology fair.
Just one thing about that, we've been given the opportunity to run a class based on EVolocity, and we were thinking we'd just pick kids that we knew were interested. We've only been involved in it really this last year. Have you ever tried doing that with kids that are basically coming into it for that reason, having a class based on that?
I mean, Burnside's quite a big school, so we've got, like, we're really big, and our classes are really big, and so I couldn't see it really working, because, like, we've got standalone classes at 11, 12, and 13 for electronics anyway, so it's not and they're big classes. They're in their, they're in their 20s, high 20s. So I don't know whether we'd have the facilities or the space to do it. One of the things that might change that is we are going to a new technology block. And once we go to the new technology block, hard materials and engineering and digital tech and electronics are all in the same block. And so that might change the scope there. For us, if we had more like buy-in and keenness coming from engineering department, then definitely I think we'd be able to go down that path. But without engineering wanting to be involved with it at the moment, all we could do is just focus on controllers and stuff, and that's not enough for a whole class, I don't think.
Could I jump in here? I'm just wondering, Paul, if this might be a good time for you just to jump in, because your experience, the model you're using is quite different to the model that Burnside has been using. So you might have something to add here.
Yeah, that sounds good. And looks like you're doing a really good job there, John. So well done on that. It's especially extracurricular. I think Sarah touched on at the beginning that we're going to share expertise, but I don't know if we've got expertise. We've just got a jack of all trades and a master at none. So I feel like I'm more of a facilitator. I definitely use the expertise of experts as much as I possibly can. That is really important for me and the students. And I'll touch on that in a few minutes, but I suppose I'll start with the kind of structure. I'm a bit different in that I started probably about 5 years ago as a teacher, 2017. And in my first year, I took on EVolocity, the open class, the 1 kilowatt, because my year 13s were really interested in it. And we did this as a whole class. And we took it as project-based. And I then fit NCEA achievement standards into that class. So instead of going, oh, I've got achievement standards, I've got to do them, and I've got to wrap a project around that, I took the opposite approach, which was project first. The students want to do this. This is really cool. I want to do this. And let's wrap the achievement standards around that then. So I take it as a 1-year project, and the students totally own the project. So I started with year 13. So the students have the ability or facility to sell back the projects to the next team coming up, or components of that project. So that could be the motor, the batteries, and they decide then, and they negotiate with each other how much they want to buy it from that team. Now, with the year 13 project, it's very much not just building EVolocity, but it's building a business. So they work with the local community around sponsorship, depending on how much they need. Some of the teams only need a couple of $100. Some of the teams might need, $1,500. It depends on the complexity of their project. And some of the teams are building bikes, don't need anything, so it depends. You can really tone it down or build it up depending on what you need. The overall goal, I suppose, with year 13s is that I kind of approach it with, we do this in year 13, we do EVolocity. There's no other option. This is the project that we do in year 13. And what that leads to is design and engineering. And my subject is design technology. So in year 11, year 12, and year 13, I teach design technology. We used to have engineering in the school, but that kind of got wrapped into design technology over a year or two. We used to have more woodwork in the school, but that kind of got wrapped into design technology over a year or two as well. In year 9 and 10, we still kind of teach wood tech, but the approach I take is I introduce them to what we do in year 11 12 and 13, so that students that are interested kind of know the path that they need to take. And, you know, EVolocity as well leads to I've got a number of students in the University of Canterbury and Auckland that are involved in formal SEE. You know, they look at what that kind of leads to. There's a number of my students this year in year 13 that are in touch with Rocket Lab. You know, and they know what it leads to. I've got a number of students that have taken on apprenticeships with a local cabinet maker and also Sail GP, who make the America's Cup boats, you know. So it's not just all university driven either. It's working with the local community and giving access to these really cool, you know, Solar City, these really cool apprenticeships as well. Okay, so that's the overall kind of goal, and that's the focus that the students have. Now, to let you know how well it's gone, in my first year, I think the message was the most important thing. But in my first year, we had about 43 in year 11. We had 17 in year 12, and we had 11 in year 13. And now we've got 96 in year 11. We've got 26 capacity at level 2 or year 12, and we've got 26 capacity at year 13. So there's definitely a lot of hunger and interest for these kind of projects within the school. The way that I kind of wrap it around in terms of NCEA is that I usually provide 3 internals and 1 external. The 3 internals accommodate for 16 credits, and I always provide the option of 1 external, so that if students want to get excellence endorsed and so on, especially in year 12 and year 13 for university, they've got that option as well. Okay, and I can go through that. Should I go through that now? Or does anyone have any questions about that at the moment?
Questions? John?
Yeah, just a question. You mentioned the numbers you've got at various levels, year 11, year 12, year 13, but you're also saying that it's actually only a year 13 project.
No, okay, so correct, but this year we've moved it into year 12. This is my first year moving into year 12 and 13, but also because the students know that that's what it leads to. That's what's garnering a lot of interest, because the students know that that's a pathway. You can't just walk into year 13 design tech and not have done level 2 and level 1 and level 2. You've got to, there's a prerequisite. You need to do level 1 and level 2 to then get into level 3 design tech. Does that answer that question? John?
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no worries. I just put a prerequisite into, you know, the explanation of what the course is, and that helps, especially like for level 2 now. This year I had 42 students that were interested in the class, but I had to turn away 16. And we can't, because we don't have the facility. I completely agree with John. You have to have a large area, and you have to have a good bit of storage, and you've got to have multiple teachers if you want to grow it. But I'm okay with it being 1 class in level 2 and level 3. Yeah, I think 2 classes would be too much. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, cool. I'll just go into, I'll share the screen. Do you mind if I share the screen? Or
Just let me share the screen with you.
I'll share my screen.
Oh, I know, I've just turned it on at my end, so the floor is yours.
Okay, cool. Share. It's not allowing me. Privacy.
Um,
Anyway, if I can't do it, that's okay.
Sam, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, so I've clicked multiple participants can share simultaneously. That should work. If there's an advanced sharing options, shall I click on that?
You can try it. I'm on my phone, so I'm not going to be too much help right now.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's saying
Could be on my end because of my school, you know, or sorry, of my firewall, it won't allow Zoom or something like that. So it could just be that's, but look, I can continue anyway. So I've got 3 internals, and basically I fit the internals around what I've got some skills in and what wraps around the project. So for me, I did the 4 credits CNC portfolio for year 13. That's 4 credits. It's very much practical. Students fill out a portfolio. You can give them the template of the portfolio. I would show it to you, but obviously I can't open it right now. And they fill out that portfolio according to what they did practically as a bit of evidence of what they did. Okay, that CNC portfolio, you can use either a 3D printer or a laser cutter. So if you've got a 3D printer, fantastic. You can get the students to 3D print their components. Now I try and enable the students to use the software on their laptops that links to the 3D printer so that they can be independent a little bit. And sometimes I teach that in year 12. So when they get into year 13, they hit the ground running. What else about that? Yeah, the 3D printing, the CNC portfolio, I think works really well. You know, it might be worth investing a small little bit on a small laser cutter as well. And these components then can be used within the vehicle. They're not like completely separate to the vehicle. They can be a dashboard, they can be a holder, they can be a power holder, they can be whatever you want. I've had students this year that actually made components for the rear axle that was extremely strong. And we tested it quite a bit, and yeah, it was 3D printed. So cool. Now, the other one that I use is the complex procedures portfolio, which is the 6 credits. And I usually base that towards the end of the project because you're looking back on your complex procedure. Now, I need to explain this, by the way, as well, because John hit the nail on the head as well, that he mentioned, you know, teams and how many people are in the teams and so on. I usually have about 5 to 6 students in a go-kart, an open class go-kart minimum. Now, each team then has responsibility over a specific area, be it the power system, be it the controller and the digital dashboard, be it the axles, the steering system, the body kit, whatever it is. They take responsibility, each student takes responsibility for at least one area. So if I have to go up to the team and we fill it out in an Excel spreadsheet, who's doing what, and then I can go up to the team and say, right, Joella, you're looking after the rear axle and marketing. How's that going? You know, and she can say, oh, well, Troy was working on it and I was waiting on him. No, you're responsible for it. So each student has responsibility for something. That means that no student can just kind of sit. In my first year or 2, I had students kind of sitting on the side, kind of going, can I get away with doing nothing in this, you know? And this allows them not to. All right. He kind of weeds it out. Now, the bike is very different. You can have about 3 students for the bike, for the open class bike. I think. And about the same for the standard bike as well, 3 to 4 students max, because I think any more than that, and there's just students then not doing much. Then I don't know if John agrees with that, but would you agree with that,
Yeah,
John?
yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I think 5 to 6 for the go-kart and 3 to 4 max for the bike. Yeah. What else? Yeah, the next thing then is the external. I'll do a technological outcome external. And again, it's building up. In level 1, we build up. We don't do EVolocity at level 1. We build skateboards and we make them electric. So there's a little bit of a link. Then in level 2, in the first term, we build drones and we 3D print components for the drones, and we learn how to use Fusion 360. I highly recommend everyone, for free software, you can get 100 licenses, give them out to your students. Students, like I teach Fusion, and my previous my previous life, I used to work a lot with 3D modeling softwares, but Fusion is really good for free software. And you can use the cam side and you would be amazed at what students can do. They absolutely blow you away. If you give them the facility, some of them will spend day and night learning it, and they will be teaching you, some of them, you know? So don't be afraid if you don't know how to use Fusion, just jump into it, and the students will actually take it on board, some of them, okay? There's loads of YouTube videos on this as well, so definitely use Fusion. Also, get as many experts involved as you can, in your first year especially. I try and work with the local community in gaining sponsorship with the students. You know, some of the students do presentations in front of 20, 25 of companies in the local community. And it's just amazing to see the students like stand up and have the confidence. I don't even have that confidence. You know, we talked about apprenticeships. We try and get local experts. So say, for instance, for me, I would get ITSS, who's metalworking, Sail GP, Blue Cars that are down in Auckland that do electric vehicles, that swap out electric batteries out of older electric vehicles like, you know, Nissan Leafs and stuff like that. They're amazing. EVolocity, University of Auckland, Unitech, you know, the list goes on. You know, Keith Anderson this year gave a lot of expertise to the teams here in Auckland. Make use of it. You know, he's there for a reason. Ask questions. No question is stupid. So if there's a possibility of using expert knowledge, use it. Ask questions and get students to give you a list of questions. Don't you be the person that is always taking responsibility. Get the students to go on, what's it called? What's it called? The app, Sarah, that you're using.
I was about to jump in there. Actually, you're talking about Slack, right?
Slack, and Slack's really good.
Yeah, we've actually got Sam on this call at the, as well. Sam is one of our technology specialists, and Sam actually set Slack up. And so what he's done is he's set up this online, essentially a chat platform, so that our students, teachers, parents can ask questions from our tech team around the country, and they can get answers in real time. The guys monitor it during the day, and they respond pretty quickly. And as Paul said, there is no stupid question. You know, we want you guys to ask as many questions as you like, and we do have a really active technology team there who are really keen to respond. Yeah.
And I as well, I think even with Slack, even if you highlight the question, sometimes Keith or Sam or whoever will say, oh, this is too much, I might have to come up and visit you, or I might have to do an online call, you know, a Zoom call or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just as well, last thing, because I'll just take you around do you want me to take you around the workshop? I'll just quickly show you.
Yeah, love to.
It's been a work in progress and it continues to be, but every year you learn a little bit more. So this is it here. So this is the front. So I moved into this workshop about 2 years ago because the other one was far too small. So over the years, we've been trying to get these kind of the 3D printers I was talking to you about there. By the way, just to let you know, so this is a laser cutter and it works really well, but I bought it from China and it was, I'm not saying going to, yeah, I don't know if I should say this, but it was quite cheaper than the local machines. So that allowed us to actually buy it. And then we've got more of the traditional machines back here. We're fixing a motor at the moment, it burnt out. But yeah, these are more of the traditional machines. Now, where the vehicles are stored are back here in this shed here behind me. So this is our storage shed. And so a lot of them have been taken away because the students own the vehicles. So yeah, we don't store them over summer. And then in here, we've got our welding bay, a little bit of a welding bay in here. And then we've got a bit of storage of all bits and pieces. Now, these are absolutely fantastic. So I highly recommend buying these tool chests because you can roll them and obviously they're pretty robust and you can fit a lot into them. So I swear by them. And then we do a bit of carbon fibering as well. And we do that in this old kind of shed that's got aircon because we need a heater in there to allow the carbon fiber, the resin to cure. So we do that a little bit as well. We get carbon fiber offcuts from Sale GP locally. And so that just allows us to do a little bit of carbon fibering and play around with that area. Students tend to enjoy that side of things as well. But if you don't have carbon fiber, fiberglass is just as good as well. It's the same process. You need to use resin and hardener as well, and it's a lot cheaper. So if you can't get your hands on carbon fiber, fiberglass is pretty good as well. I think that's it.
Thanks, Paul.
One of the things I just want to say one thing, the EVolocity is great for funding within your school. Like I use it and the principal, the senior management team love it because it's a high profile outcome. The board of trustees, I mean the PTA always gives us money to support it and get it off the ground. And then it has helped us when we're applying for things like we've got a laser cutter over here and a plastic former and a CNC machine, like in a digital room. And the reason that the senior management's keen to do it is because like we're doing some really cool stuff with it. And the last event that was held, you know, the principal came down and saw all of these race cars racing around and saw these kids that were just, you know, champing at the bit, and they were learning all of these practical skills. And in the world today where, you know, we're losing that practical ability to do things, and it's, you know, there's just a real shortage of kids doing that and getting their hands busy, dirty, making stuff and thinking. Like, it was great. And it just, the school could see real value in it and could see that it was an investment that was paying real dividends for the kids and real options for the kids. So it was great.
I agree. Yeah, I can second that. That it's very visual and you get a real outcome and a real fun outcome, and it involves community. And it involves classes, involves a lot of people. And yeah, it's, teachers, principals enjoy it, seeing it. And it's there's a lot of stuff starting off. There's a lot of stuff that you can get off EVolocity website, you know, PDFs and things like that to showcase what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to get a cart or a bike up and running. So if you're starting it for the first time, you can get a cheap bike and you can get a motor mounted to it, and then the kids see something right away, and you know they're hooked. They love it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? You've been so thorough. Covered everything.
Hey, I don't know if I should mention this as well, but I will, you know, for a bit of, not for a laugh, but I mentioned before that I brought it into year 12 as well. It's my first year doing it in year 12, and I was like, oh crap, this is going to be, because the largest number of vehicles I ever had was about 3 to 4, but this year we had 10. Now, 8 ended up actually running because 2, you know, there's always something, you know, that happens. It's very hard to get 100% success rate. But I would say for a level 2 and level 3, you know, with those classes, probably for level 2, for level 3, I'll aim to have about 4 vehicles. And then for level 2, I'll aim to have maybe 3 to 4 vehicles as well. And I think what John said as well is, you know, have more focus. Did you say this, John, to have more students focused on that kind of whole build on that one project?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try that for next year, just to kind of tone down the numbers and improve the quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe make it a 2-year project. So starting in year 12 and then moving into year 13 as well. So I might take that on board, John, what you said.
Don't blame me if it goes wrong.
Hey, sorry, could I just run something by you guys? So I've done EVolocity for a couple of years, and I always get to sort of July, August, and things are going really well for one team, and another couple of teams not so good. What I was considering for next year, if I could pick your brain, is getting my year 12s to use last year's cart and do the innovation standards on it. Do the innovation category, put in the sensors and maybe another motor control and that sort of stuff, and then get the year 13s to build some new vehicles. So using old vehicles and doing the innovation, and then potentially getting my year 13s to build new ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think there's one, John, isn't there, and Sarah and Sam, there's one regulation that says when you're transferring from one year to the next, that it can't be exactly the same vehicle. Yeah. What is it?
It has to be modified, but Sam can answer this one.
Yeah, it can't be the exact same car. A lot of the time, yeah, students will just upgrade it. So they might take the frame and strip out all the electronics and then get them to redo that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also they might even just unbuild it and get them to rebuild it.
Okay. So we're just in the 350 watt class. So if they were to put like a different gearing system in or something like that, that would be enough change.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Is they take the cart and then they race it, and then they go from the previous year, oh, this would have been so much better if we did this and this and this, and then they come in the next year and they already know what they're going to work on, because I'm small groups and doing it that way. So they float their ideas and they do that. And last year they went through and they were like, oh, we should put disc brakes on them and they all need to have gearing systems. And then we need to start thinking about aerodynamics. And those are the things that we're going to work on this year is those things.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
And I think for me, getting year 12s to start EVolocity and then into year 13, that'll allow me to do that as well. Whereas before it was just a 1-year project, students would leave, that was it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that's a better process, maybe. And as well, just touching on the achievement standards, Phil, isn't it? Yeah, Phil.
Yeah.
If you're looking at doing the achievement standards, the year 13 achievement standards can be very similar to the year 12, like that implement complex procedures. I think it's implement advanced procedures at year 12. In year 13, the conceptual design portfolio is similar to the year 12, but you could do a prototype as well if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You kind of build on it a little bit from the year. And I find that the year 12 portfolios are not that much of a big step up from the year 13 portfolios are not a big step up from the year 12s.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah. So
And if you do get kids that are interested in scholarship, if you break in your project up, then like one person can take the control system through to scholarship and another person can take like the builds of how they actually built the cart through to scholarship. And so you can end up with multiple kids going for scholarship at one time.
In the same team. Yeah.
As long as they're very clear about what their role was and what they did, they can't use we and us. Yeah.
And I think doing that implement complex and making sure at the very beginning of the project that each person's responsibility is clearly set. And of course, there's going to be a bit of an overlap because everyone's kind of working together as well, but everyone's clear on where their responsibility is. Yeah. We're agreeing with a lot, John. We shouldn't.
I know, this is great.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that both of you come from different, one's coming from the digital workspace and one's coming from design and engineering. Yeah. And I can see that we can come from physics as well.
Yeah. We've got the VEX robotics that runs, and one of the things that I'm going to try next year is when they've got their build days, that we have our build days at the same time. So we're just starting to get more of those sort of robotics kids together, electronics kids together, and just try to get something that's a little bit more hybrid. So we start to get the kids floating across, because the VEX robotics kids, they got some really cool ideas that we can start using across in time.
It's so clear to see, isn't it, that it incorporates so many different skills.
Yeah.
And the students, why it's so attractive, I find in the school, is that no matter what background you're coming from, like you said, physics, digital tech, whatever, they can implement their skills into this project and have a really good time, and as well learn other skills that their peers are incorporating into their vehicles as well. So it's an absolutely fantastic platform or project for that.
Hey, Sam, just a really quick question while I got you here. With the standard class, with the 350 watt, are they able to build their own controller for that, or do we have to use the standard one?
It has to be the standard one if you're in standard class.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's a really good idea to have a go at building a controller. But yeah, that would put you in open.
Okay. Because I know Les had some kits a few years ago that you could build and program the pickaxe for.
Yeah.
Are they not allowed anymore in that class?
Not in that class, no.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
It's allowed in open class.
Just a query. I mean, this is all based on EVolocity, but are any of you teachers aware of any other kind of event like what EVolocity supports in this sort of area of like like a solar challenge. Apparently Vic Uni's got a solar challenge thing, which is really more for juniors. I'm just wondering whether around the country there's some other kind of program that sort of got the same sort of thing going on with technology and design and science, you know, these STEM sort of things.
There is a little mini electric car thing that Canterbury runs, and it's only, you know, they're only that big, and they give you the parts, and you've got to laser cut them and do them. But I just haven't. My hands are just so full with this that I couldn't think of adding anything else in.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah. I'm not aware. We're not aware of any other program in the country doing what EVolocity does. I think we're quite unique in this space. That solar car challenge is it's quite cool. We're actually supporting Victoria University with that. They're piloting it this year in Wellington. Victoria University and Robinson Research Institute are one of our sponsors. And the solar car challenge is more like a very small small kit that the younger students put together, and it's remote controlled, and then they race them. So it's quite a nice sort of little intro, intro to that design process. But it's obviously at a quite a different level to what EVolocity does. But it's quite a cool, looks like quite a cool little project for some of our younger kids to do. Yeah.
I tried to look up anything to do with drones because we were doing that in year 12, and it was couldn't find anything around New Zealand other than maybe competitions, which was not school based. They were more individual pro, but yeah, I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
Unique.
Does anyone have any further questions for our speakers today? No.
What was the name of that CNC standard, the portfolio one at level 3?
It's 3.22, 91622.
91622. Excellent. Thanks, Phil.
Yes, sir. I've just been marking it.
Very much.
Paul, the slides that you were going to show, or the presentation you were going to show, when we couldn't share the screen, is that something that you could send me that I could circulate to everybody when I send out the link to the recording?
Yes, I could send out. Yeah, they're pretty big files, but I'll see what I can send through. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That'd be great. Wonderful. Well, thank you, John and Paul, for this. This was a really great discussion and lots of really useful information for all of our teachers. And it was really nice to get the two different perspectives. And there's obviously a lot of synergies and similarities as well between the two models. But thank you for sharing your valuable experience with everyone. So I think probably a good time to finish off now. If anyone does have any questions that come to mind at any time, please feel free to send me your questions, and I'll make sure that I get answers for you. And I will be sending out a link to the recording as well as those slides, hopefully, that we can get from Paul as well. So thank you all very much. It was lovely to meet you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome. Really
Great.
cool.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome. Great.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. See
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye-bye.